It was the movie that no one thought would be a hit. It was the sleeper that a studio had no idea how to sell.
Make up your minds, it can't be all of those things.
And its success was even more miraculous because this Christmas present was opened in June.
I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
100 years from now, people will still be looking at Miracle on 34th Street.
A story that baffled a studio, a child actress on the brink of stardom, and a performance that brought this Santa an Academy Award.
Now I know that the Santa Claus.
On Hollywood Backstories, Miracle on 34th Street.
That's what I want for Christmas. If you're really Santa Claus, you can get it for me. And if you can't, you're only a nice man with a white beard, like Mother said.
Now, wait a minute, Susie. Just because every child can't get his wish, that doesn't mean there isn't a Santa Claus.
That's what I thought you'd say.
For over half a century, the 1947 Christmas tale, Miracle on 34th Street, has been embraced as one of the greatest holiday movies ever made.
Could you be Santa Claus? Have you had any experience?
Oh, a little.
The film, about a mysterious man who claims to be Kris Kringle, used humor and charm to tell a story of the true spirit of Christmas.
Oh, Christmas isn't just a day. It's a frame of mind.
The movie also boasted sparkling performances from a first-rate cast, including Maureen O'Hara,
Mr. Gailey,
John Payne,
I think I'd better get the meat.
Natalie Wood, and Edmund Gwenn.
Always sleeping them out. Cold air makes them grow.
The story of Miracle on 34th Street began, appropriately, on Christmas Eve of 1944. That night, screenwriter Valentine Davies pushed through a packed department store in Los Angeles, searching for a Christmas gift for his wife.
The commercialism was so heavy and rampant, and he thought, gee, is this what has happened to Christmas? And I wonder what Santa Claus would think if he'd seen all this.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad isms floating around this world, but one of the worst is commercialism.
And it inspired him to write this story.
Davies confided his idea to a close friend, writer-director George Seaton, who considered it a terrific movie premise. And in July of 1946, after a full year of collaboration, their story was optioned by 20th Century Fox, even before the screenplay had a title. Mr. Kringle, Miracle on Herald Square, and It's Only Human were just three possibilities that the writers rejected. But by any name, the film was regarded by 20th Century Fox as little more than an unimportant program picture.
The studio kind of considered it a low-budget B movie. I mean, come on, a Santa Claus movie. And they didn't have any idea what they had on their hands.
To play the part of Doris Walker, the sensible Macy's employee who doesn't believe in Santa Claus, the studio selected Maureen O'Hara, one of Fox's most reliable box office draws. But for the Irish-born actress, this miracle came at the worst possible time.
After the war, I was on the first plane I could get on to go back to Ireland and see my mother and my father. And I arrived in Dublin, and the phone rang, and it was 20th Century Fox on the phone. And they said, you're to return to New York immediately because you're going to start a film called Miracle on 34th Street. I was absolutely furious, furious. I did go back to New York, but mad as hell, and read the script, and I knew right away. I thought, oh, this is a wonderful, sentimental, warm, gorgeous story.
Fox player John Payne was given the part of Fred Gailey, the lawyer who defends Kris Kringle.
I intend to prove that Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
And wins Doris's heart. But casting truly depended on the role of Kris Kringle. To play the part, Fox chose a veteran British character actor, Edmund Gwenn, whose impish charm graced such earlier films as Pride and Prejudice and Lassie Come Home.
Don't forget a real official football helmet.
Don't worry, Tommy, you'll get it.
He was a really nice guy. He was always happy, always smiling. He had this little twinkle in his eye. He would come by the schoolroom, you know, where I had to go to school. And he would do this little dance, you know, out in front of the door and just crack me up. You know, of course, I couldn't study history with Santa Claus dancing in front of the door. It was funny.
Hello, Chris.
He always found time to talk to me. And he knew that it was my first picture, and he was very, very encouraging about what I was doing. And he said, you're going to get marvelous reviews in this movie. And he was right. He was just a dear, dear man.
Finally, for the role of Susan, Doris's skeptical daughter, George Seaton cast a gifted 8-year-old named Natasha Gurdon, who had just become known professionally as Natalie Wood. To work on Miracle, the young actress tackled a schedule that would daunt many a seasoned pro.
She was doing 3 films at the same time. She was playing a little English girl, Anna, in The Ghost of Mrs. Muir.
Mummy's coming aboard in a motor car.
And then toward the end of filming, she started to shoot a picture called Scudda-Hoo, Scudda-Hey, where she was playing a farm girl called Bean.
Come on, Belinda, give.
And she would go back and forth from set to set. Still wasn't quite accustomed to being Natalie and is being called all these different names, using different accents.
Natalie was the most wonderful of child stars because she was not really like Susan. She was a very happy-go-lucky, having a wonderful time kind of a child, and yet she was able to portray this rather cynical, sophisticated little girl.
He's much better than last year's. At least this one doesn't wear glasses.
With his actors in place, George Seaton now tackled his toughest and riskiest casting fight of all. Miracle's story took place amid the actual bitter feud between 2 famous department stores, R.H. Macy and its rival, Gimbel Brothers. To use the retailers' real names, George Seaton agreed to a plan fraught with disaster. Macy's and Gimbel's would withhold permission until after they'd seen the finished film.
I admit that on the face of it, this plan sounds idiotic and impossible.
If either store disliked the picture, Fox would have to radically recut and reshoot the movie at enormous expense.
Well, personally, I think it's a wonderful idea, too.
You think so. Those women think so. The point is, will Mr. Macy think so?
Talk about a risk. Because if they said, no, forget it, where do you go from there? You'd have to make drastic surgery.
Feuding stores weren't the only filming headache. Seaton was determined to shoot Miracle's opening scene, set at Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, at the actual event in New York City. In November of 1946, the director boldly took his team to the crowded streets of Manhattan without a finished script.
He had to pack up everybody and rush to New York. And I remember there was a big dispute over that. Studio didn't want to pay for it. And I remember Seaton saying, hey, I'll pay for it myself if you don't pay for it because I need this. It has to be realistic.
Everything was done on the street, and it was bitterly cold, freezing cold. And we were all pre-coached in everything that they wanted because the parade wasn't going to stop to let us shoot anything. So we had to do everything quickly, and we did.
And you'll find toys of all kinds at Macy's.
When Hollywood Backstories returns, Santa is put on trial, and a nervous studio faces the court of public opinion.
Say, listen, what's the matter with you? Don't you understand English? I tell you, Macy's ain't got any. Nobody's got any.
You can get those fire engines at Schoenfeld's on Lexington Avenue. Only $8.50, a wonderful bargain.
Schoenfeld's? I don't get it.
Well, the only important thing is to make the children happy. And whether Macy or somebody else sells the toy doesn't make any difference. Don't you feel that way?
Huh? Who, me? Oh, yeah, sure. Only I didn't know Macy's did.
Well, as long as I'm here, they do.
I don't get it. No? I just don't get it.
In December of 1946, the last thing that Macy's department store needed was a film crew under its feet. But at the height of the Christmas shopping season, over 100 cast and crew members descended on the New York store to film Miracle on 34th Street.
Natalie and I had a wonderful time because when we'd shoot at night and we wouldn't be working, we'd sneak off, and with nobody in the store, we were able to go through every department in the store and try on all sorts of things that we had no right to do whatsoever, but we really enjoyed it. It was wonderful.
In January of 1947, the Miracle cast and crew rushed back to Los Angeles and the stages of 20th Century Fox. There, designers recreated Macy's interiors for additional scenes, including the meeting between Kris Kringle and the skeptical Susan Walker.
Well, young lady, what's your name?
Susan Walker, what's yours?
Mine? Kris Kringle. I'm Santa Claus. Oh, you don't believe that, do you?
Mm-mm. You see, my mother's Mrs. Walker, the lady who hired you. But I must say you're the best looking one I've ever seen.
Really?
Your beard doesn't have one of those things that goes over your ears.
Well, that's because it's real. Just like I'm really Santa Claus.
In rehearsal, when she was tugging the beard, he would just go like this.
Oh, go ahead, pull it.
And then when they were going to take it, she yanked the beard and he went like this. And she actually wasn't expecting it. And it worked.
She thought it was real at that time. In fact, she thought he was Santa during the making of the film, so that at the end of the picture when they had a wrap party and he came without his beard, she was absolutely shocked. It was iconoclastic for her. She thought he was Santa.
How would you like to be able to make snowballs in the summertime? Eh? How would you like to have a ship all to yourself that makes daily trips to China and Australia? How would you like to be the Statue of Liberty in the morning and in the afternoon fly south with a flock of geese?
Natalie just adored him and was convinced he was Santa Claus. I believed he was Santa Claus. John Payne thought he was Santa Claus. We all did. We all loved him.
Now just bend your body over a little like that. Let your arms hang loose, see?
She was an exceptionally intelligent little girl who had a photographic memory.
Now then, put the tongue under your lip over your teeth. Now then, stretch yourself and chatter, see?
She would cue the adult actors if they would miss one of their lines, so she acquired the nickname One Take Natalie.
George Seaton also coaxed another fine performance from a child actor in Miracle's courtroom climax.
Hello, Daddy.
During the courtroom scene when John Payne is asking me,
Tell me, Tommy, why are you so sure there's a Santa Claus?
well, the scripted line that George Seaton had read wasn't working. And he kept saying, cut, I need a line here, I need a line here. And he tried different things, and finally I said, can I say something? He goes, yeah, and he goes, I said, why don't I just say...
Because my daddy told me so.
And he goes, I love it. And so that's in the movie.
Your Honor, every one of these letters is addressed to Santa Claus. The post office has delivered them. Therefore, the Post Office Department, a branch of the federal government, recognizes this man, Kris Kringle, to be the one and only Santa Claus.
Since the United States government declares this man to be Santa Claus, this court will not dispute it. Case dismissed.
On March 24th, 1947, shooting wrapped on Miracle on 34th Street. Its upbeat spirit had been reflected off-screen on a shoot many considered the happiest of their careers.
Most films, yes, there are trying moments and difficult moments, but on Miracle on 34th Street, it was just bliss from beginning to end.
Go right in, Mr. Macy's waiting.
But on April 29th, the filmmaker's optimism turned to anxiety as Miracle was screened for the powerful heads of Macy's and Gimbel's department stores. A negative reaction would mean weeks of reshooting and total revamping of the plot.
Imagine Macy's Santa Claus sending customers to Gimbel's.
Seaton showed it to both the head of Macy's and the head of Gimbel's separately, not together.
Macy.
Gimbel. Macy. Gimbel's.
Mr. Macy.
Mr. Macy. Mr. Macy.
Mr. Macy.
And they thought it was swell.
Everybody's crazy about him. So is Mr. Macy.
From now on, I'm going to be a regular Macy customer.
But Miracle still faced another problem before its bow on movie screens. Studio chief Darryl Zanuck, an early fan of the screenplay, was eager to release the film even though Christmas was over half a year away.
They chose to bring it out in the summer because more people go to the theaters in the summer and they felt that they would have a bigger commercial success.
But Fox was afraid to promote a Christmas-themed movie in the summer, so the studio decided to conceal its Yuletide theme from the public.
They didn't want to have it labeled a Christmas movie. In fact, they did everything possible to kind of hide that fact. And the Gwen character was in the ads, kind of in the shadows in the background. This is the man who made the miracle on 34th Street, but you had no idea what this was all about.
Stop it! Turn it off! That won't work. It's no good. What do you make a trailer for? To give the public an idea of what kind of a picture to expect.
But, boss, we...
Hilarious, romantic, tender, exciting. Make up your minds. It can't be all of those things.
The studio came up with a wildly unconventional trailer. It tackled the publicity problems head-on without showing a single scene from the film.
You've got to decide what kind of a picture this is. Is it a romantic love story? Is it an exciting thriller? Is it a hilarious comedy? Make up your minds. Now go to work and fix it up. Hey, Rex. How are you?
Ed, how are you?
Good to see you. How's the Ghost of Mrs. Muir?
It's pretty good, honey. How's New York?
Fine. Say, Rex, have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Yes, saw the preview. I've never heard laughs like it in the theater before.
Oh, is that right?
Don't miss it. I was crazy about it.
You really think we've got something, huh?
I don't know whether the women will like it, but it's a great man's picture. Oh, I'm sorry.
Ann Baxter, good to see
Ed.
you.
How are you?
I haven't seen you since the Academy Awards. Congratulations on winning that Oscar.
Thanks, Ed, very much.
Oh, say, Ann.
Yeah.
Have you seen Miracle on 34th Street?
Have I? Ed, it's wonderful.
Yeah, I understand it's a pretty good comedy.
Comedy? Well, I suppose that's true. I had a million laughs, but the thing that got me were the tears in between. It's so tender and charming and warm. I don't know how the men are going to like it. It's a great woman's picture.
Is that so?
Oh, there's one scene between John Payne and Maureen O'Hara where he's trying to prove... No, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You go and see it.
When Hollywood Backstories returns, a studio finds out if audiences are naughty or nice to a Christmas movie that premieres in June.
Okay, we're ready.
In May of 1947, Miracle on 34th Street was put to the test with its first audience preview. Anxious Fox executives were about to find out if their plan to release a Christmas movie amid the high-temperature heat of summer would somehow succeed or result in box office disaster.
Fox had no expectation that it was going to be this, just really sort of part of cinematic history. And then once it was previewed, it had this spectacular reaction.
People were applauding at the end of it. I couldn't believe it, They were just like actually clapping.
And they realized, oh my God, they had now had a hit on their hands.
That summer, Miracle on 34th Street lived up to its title. The film received a blizzard of rave reviews and set cash registers ringing nationwide. At a time when most movies played for 1 or 2 weeks, Miracle ran for over half a year, all the way to Christmas. In 1948, the sleeper hit received 4 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture. And that March, it took home an impressive 3 Oscars: Best Original Story for Valentine Davies, Best Screenplay for George Seaton, and Best Supporting Actor for Edmund Gwenn.
Edmund Gwenn of The Miracle on 34th Street.
Now I know there's a Santa Claus.
But even after the film ended its smash theatrical run, Fox couldn't resist the temptation to recycle the story in other incarnations. A rarely seen television adaptation aired in the 1950s under the title Meet Mr. Kringle.
Your whiskers don't have those things that go over your ears.
That's because they're real, just like I'm really Santa Claus. Go on, pull them. That's it!
Another TV version followed in the 1970s. And in 1994, the story was told again in a big-budget remake written by John Hughes.
It has been remade 3 times, and I'm happy and proud to say that all times it was a flop. That the first one was the best one.
The Miracle phenomenon even traveled to Broadway with a short-lived musical adaptation in 1963 called Here's Love. But it's the classic original that endures to this day.
Really? Delighted to hear it.
In the 1980s, the film was given a new and controversial presentation when it was colorized for television. Movie purists were horrified, but once again, Miracle was a commercial smash. And ironically, in the wake of its success on video, the film that lampooned Christmas commercialization even inspired its own line of merchandising.
Stop, Uncle Fred! Stop! Stop!
After more than half a century, Miracle on 34th Street still delights viewers of all ages, thanks to its sophisticated script, its flawless cast, and its enduring message.
Faith is believing in things when common sense tells you not to.
Huh?
Miracle really does touch everyone's heart.
Mommy told me if things don't turn out just the way you want them to the first time, you still got to believe. And I kept believing, and you were right, Mommy. Mr. Kringle is Santa Claus.
It's about hope.
You can't quit. You can't let them down.
It's about belief when everything tells you you shouldn't have any.
You told her that?
It's a beautiful film.
The people that were making this movie loved it, and I think that comes across.
I'd take a little old man and legally prove to the world that he's Santa Claus. Now, you know that...
I'm the lady who knows Santa Claus. To the kids. Maybe some of the grown-ups too, only they're too ashamed to admit it.
Oh, no, it can't be. It must have been left here by the people that moved out.
Maybe. Maybe I didn't do such a wonderful thing after all.